Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, Zosa's a no-go. Latest Capri report suggests changes may be necessary. And in the second watch, should we release the registry? Sex offender registry conversation heats up. For our social media question, we ask, do you think the government should release the sex offender registry? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's iQuote.
All right, today's iQuote says, faith does not eliminate questions, but faith knows where to take them. And this one is from Elizabeth Elliott.
Good morning, Joker.
Good morning, good morning.
Yes, that's an interesting quote there.
Definitely.
Of course, faith knows where to take those questions, and I guess it's pointing to the Lord, eh?
Right, and actually this iQuote goes hand in hand with my devotion this morning.
Yes, I heard it.
So yeah, what's confirmation?
Yeah, and speaking about this morning, I'm offering a free course, Joker, in changing one's flat tire. 101. By the way, I don't look at your tires. They look okay, all right?
Well, thank God it stays that way. It was flat this morning.
Yeah, I heard.
We got my neighbor.
I heard. By the way, guess whose birthday is today?
Siobhan Blair. Today Siobhan is right here. Today Siobhan is
Happy birthday, Siobhan.
Happy birthday to you, Chevy B.
All right. The first watch will be back after this break. Day and night.
Is your money idling when it could be thriving? With CIBC Caribbean's fixed deposit offering, you can take charge of your cash. With 50,000 Jamaican to start, choose terms from 30 days to 2 years. Lock in your funds and enjoy premium rates guaranteed to grow your wealth. Whether you're eyeing short or long-term gains, our fixed deposit account puts you firmly in control of your money. Now is the time to open a CIBC fixed deposit account and start earning more today. CIBC, ambitions made real.
Coco, red, Coco, red, Coco, red. Juicy patty with the nice cocoa bread.
Patty can't without cocoa bread. Lay the patty eat flat in the bread. Bread soft, good cocoa bread. Patty hot gas catch you in a bread.
Juicy patty with cocoa bread nice. For them cocoa bread are my choice. When soft and you know it tastes nice.
Cocoa bread with the chicken no rice. You better know.
Bread. Get your best patty and cocoa bread at Juicy today.
Join the National Blood Transfusion Service and the Ministry of Health and Wellness on June 14 for World Blood Donor Day.
Every blood donation helps save at least 3 lives. So wear red and donate at any blood collection center island-wide.
Follow the Blood Bank and the Ministry of Health and Wellness on our social media pages at One Blood Bank JA and at the MOHWGOVJM.
World Blood Donor Day.
Blood is life-giving and life-changing. A message from the National Blood Transfusion Service, an entity of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
In life, the more you have, the more you have to lose.
The more you love, the more you worry. The more you own, the less you sleep.
The more people rely on you, the more you have on your mind.
I have peace of mind.
Knowing that whatever I own
And whoever I care about are covered by the very best.
With Sagicor Life and Advantage General, get life, health, and general insurance to help you protect what matters most.
When tape diapers are difficult to change, it's time for Pampers Easy Ups with 360 stretchy waistband. They're easy to put on and take off, keeping their skin dry and protected.
Changes are easy with Easy Ups.
Is your money idling when it could be thriving? With CIBC Caribbean's fixed deposit offering, you can take charge of your cash. With 50,000 Jamaican to start, choose terms from 30 days to 2 years. Lock in your funds and enjoy premium rates guaranteed to grow your wealth. Whether you're eyeing short or long-term gains, our fixed deposit accounts puts you firmly in control of your money. Now is the time to open a CIBC fixed deposit account and start earning more today. CIBC, ambitions made real.
Are you ready for another exciting show inside Alive from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. this correct Thursday, June 14? Well, join me, Sarah, and the Trophy Run for another time to recollect and reconnect. Stay tuned for the brain testing menticized at 1:45. Then Prayer Blast will be at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside Pieces of the Past. We share with you some traditional Jamaican superstitions, part 3. Then at 3 p.m., join us for music overload in a throwback style. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. this Throwback Thursday, June 13 on the family station, Love 101.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, an argument is being made about the efficacy of ZOSOs in their current form. Has the clear, hold, build strategy run its course? Are there new and effective ways to address the issues we have been facing? Well, Capri recently released a report on ZOSOs that makes for interesting reading and conversation. And so to discuss that report and its implications, we have joining us so far Mr. Alexander Coswell, lead researcher on groundwork for peace, and he's what they call a Capri Fellow. Good morning to you, Mr. Coswell.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. Good to have you on with us. Now, last week, sir, your organization presented a report on ZOSOs in Jamaica. In a nutshell, what were the objectives, the modus operandi, the findings, and the recommendations?
Okay, so the objective was to do a strategic evaluation of ZOSOs based on their stated goals and their operational design. And how we did that was we looked back to the genesis of the clear, hold, and build model of ZOSOs, and which is in counterinsurgency theory. So the phrase clear, hold, and build derives from counterinsurgency strategies.
What does that mean? What does counterinsurgency mean?
What it means is that it's the kind of strategy governments use to deal with rebel groups. Insurgent groups, guerrilla groups. This is these are all broadly insurgent groups, and the governments in the context of a civil war, government uses this kind of strategy to undermine insurgent groups and drive a wedge between insurgent groups and the populations that support them. Now, what that means for us is that there is a overlap between the kind of the operations and the patterns of violence of an insurgent group and an organized criminal group. And so governments around the world have adapted counterinsurgency strategies to deal with organized crime. For example, this has been done this is still being done in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, under their pacification program. This has also been done in various parts of Colombia, like Medellin, and this is not a new thing for our government to adapt this kind of strategy to deal with organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did was we looked at how that strategy is employed in various contexts to see what's the best iteration of it, and compare that to a fresh look at the data of violence in Jamaica and the patterns of violence in Jamaica, especially the geospatial patterns where violence happens in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And what we end up finding is that we end up confirming some of the findings laid out in the National Security Policy of 2013. The main finding of which is that Jamaica has a high rate of violence because because of the prevalence of organized crime, and the prevalence of organized crime is a function of the prevalence of communities around the country that function as safe havens for organized crime, and those communities are primarily the urban informal communities.
Mm-hmm.
And so the National Security Policy recommends, it says explicitly, you cannot deal with the gang problem unless you deal with the informal community problem, and recommends formalizing them. And it recommends several measures to formalize them, among which are land tenure regularization and infrastructure upgrading. So, and those come out of the National Security Policy of 2013. And so we looked at those and we evaluated whether they are designed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're designed to formalize informal communities in their implementation. And we find that they are focusing a lot on, they're doing a lot of infrastructure work, but removing zinc fences and paving roads somewhat, but they're not, other than that, they're focusing on behavior modification, social interventions. I'm sorry, that's the technical term, behavior modification interventions.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind of social interventions that we are used to. There's, like skills workshops, parenting workshops, school sports days. They run the gamut of a lot of things. The conflict resolution programs. These are programs designed to persuade people in a community to stop supporting gangs or stop being a part of gangs or divert them away from being a part of gangs and to be model citizens instead.
Mm-hmm.
And what we find is that these programs have no discernible effect.
No
discernible effect on because we've been trying these programs for several years now. I mean, over a 10-year period, Jamaica spent over $300 billion on these kinds of social programs, and none of them had any kind of discernible effect on violence in a community.
Mm-hmm.
And in the kinds of social interventions that going on in Zozos currently are not going to have, based on the research we have, they're not going to have any discernible effect on violence.
Okay, hold that thought, please, Mr. Coswell. We're up on a break. We're right back.
Mm-hmm.
AccuLab Diagnostics Limited, located at ATL Plaza in Montego Bay, for all your blood testing needs. Open every day, including Sundays, 6132714.
The time by AccuLab Diagnostics Limited is
7:15.
On Sunday, June 16, listen at 9 a.m. as we will share a recording of the Ecumenical Service celebration of Jamaica Council of Churches Week under the theme, Justice, Truth Be Ours Forever, reigniting God's intention for human flourishing at the Hope United Church, 221 Old Hope Road, Kingston, held on Sunday, June 2, with greetings from the Governor General of Jamaica, His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen. session. The speaker was the Most Reverend Dr. Howard Gregory. That's the Ecumenical Service celebration of Jamaica Council of Churches Week. Listen for the recording on Sunday, June 16 at 9 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Every human come subscribe to this.
Are you ready for another exciting show inside Alive from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. this Throwback Thursday, June 14? Well, join me, Sarah, and the Trophy Ron for another time to recollect and reconnect. Stay tuned for the brain testing menticized at 1:45. Then Prayer Blast will be at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside Pieces of the Past, we'll share with you some traditional Jamaican superstitions, part 3. Then at 3 p.m., join us for music overloaded in a throwback style. All the summer will come alive 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. This Throwback Thursday, June 13 on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we are examining the ZOSOs and also in particular the latest Capri report. I think the report is entitled Groundwork for Peace, Reorienting ZOSOs for Sustained Violence Reduction. And in so doing, we have online so far Mr. Alexander Coswell, who was one of the researchers in that report. Mr. Coswell, welcome again. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
and please continue your train of thought, sir.
Yes, so I was saying that ZOSOs have been trying to focus on a lot of social interventions aimed at changing the behavior of people in the communities, to get them to stop supporting gangs or get them to stop joining gangs. Programs targeting at-risk youth, and in a nutshell, what our research casts skepticism, doubt on the efficacy of those kinds of interventions. But what we have found that ZOSOs are not focusing on in the implementation is the issue of land tenure regularization. Informal communities are informal because of their irregular land tenure. The people most times don't own the land that they live on. They're squatter communities, sometimes squatter communities that are decades old, and so you have several generations living on the same plot of land, but without the title to it. Or you have kind of semi-formal social housing communities with the ownership of them being the ownership of their units or lots or whatever being not clear. And these are the communities that function as safe havens for organized crime.
Yeah.
And what the key to that is to regularize the land tenure, which means giving people titles to the land on which they live. And by the way, over 600,000 Jamaicans live in informal communities. That's over 20% of the population. And so we need to give people titles to the land on which they live, where feasible. Some communities it isn't possible to give titles to because they're in environmentally hazardous locations, meaning they live in areas prone to landslides, or they live on gully banks, or they live in flood prone areas, and it's not legally possible to give them titles, and not desirable for them to live in those dangerous circumstances anyway. So we need to focus on relocating those communities. And then we need to be vigilant about prevention of new informal communities, because it's in a very short amount of time a new informal community can be set up, and it can be filled in with the people from it will rapidly densify, and it can also be rapidly taken over by a criminal gang. So we need to be vigilant about the prevention of new informal communities, which set themselves up from time to time.
Yes. I'm looking on the preamble of the report, and it states, in part, it advocates. I guess that's the suggestion or recommendation from the report.
Yeah,
that is an advocacy for shifting focus to the regularization of land tenure to dismantle gang strongholds, enhance community development, increase state legitimacy, thereby achieving sustainable violence reduction. And you pretty much said that a while ago. All right, here's a concern I'm having, though, Mr. Coswell. It's seeming as if the report has adopted a posture of either or instead of both and. Because it seems to me that the third aspect of the Zozo, which is about build. So you have clear, you have hold, and you have build. It seems that the suggestions coming out of the report is part and parcel of building. And it doesn't mean for you to say that the program has had no discernible effect. Isn't that a strong statement to make when it's a process rather than an event? That over time, what you mentioned a while ago about the land tenure would also be a part of the build part of the process.
Okay, so as it relates to, the basic recommendation of the report is that the Zozo should focus on three things, which would be coordinating security operations with land tenure regularization and comprehensive infrastructure upgrading. Those are three elements that will constitute a good strategy. Now, what's a good strategy? Going back to the first principles of things, a good strategy must be made simple for it to work. So because any additional agencies involved in a process or any additional elements to strategy adds operational complexity to the strategy, which leads to operational paralysis. So that's one of the reasons that we recommend de-emphasizing social interventions, because they don't get at the problem. For a long time, civil society has thought that violence is a function of poverty, or a function of lack of education, or a function of lack of employment opportunities,
or lack of land tenure, or lack of land tenure, which is not the case.
No. Look, it is lack of land tenure. I'll go back to
Yes.
No. But we've thought that for a while. We've thought that, but we were wrong about the poverty. We were wrong about the education, lack of education. We were wrong about the lack of employment opportunities. Criminologists have known this for some time. There's no connection between violence and poverty, or violence and lack of education, or violence and economic opportunities.
Or land tenure.
Well, no, there is a connection between land tenure. There is. I mean, we demonstrate that in our
violence.
We demonstrate in our violence and lack of land tenure. Yes, violence in Jamaica is geospatial. In terms of the spatial location of violence. Violence in Jamaica is concentrated around informal communities. We looked at the armed violence, meaning murders and shootings over 11 years. And we have detailed data on the locations of those murders and shootings over 11 years, thanks to the JCF. And we looked at that data, and we found that we confirmed what the NSP from 2013 says, is that they are concentrated around informal communities. Half of the violence in Jamaica in over 11 years, 50% is in any 1 year is concentrated is located either inside or directly adjacent to an informal community.
Yeah, but isn't that an argument about causation vis-a-vis correlation? That's not what's causing the violence. It's a correlation.
What's causing the violence is the gangs.
Yes.
And the reason but there's a connection between the gangs and the informality. The informality is what allows the gangs to control the community. Because the informality is what makes these communities undergoverned spaces, and gangs set up shop in these kinds of undergoverned spaces, and they provide a kind of alternate governance in these spaces. That's why that's a connection. The informal communities are vulnerable to being taken over by gangs, and they are often. So you have peaceful informal communities around the place, but they're always susceptible to be taken over
On what basis then can behavior modification, social intervention, parenting workshops be disregarded?
Because it's not a matter of.
But that's what the heart of the problem is. That's what the heart of the problem is, Mr. Coswell.
No.
Regardless of land tenure.
It's an economic problem. It's an economic problem.
All of those combined, economics plus ethics.
No, because we have the data is very clear on this. But there's no correlation between poverty prevalence across community and violence. There's no prevalence. A community can be low income and peaceful, right? But the presence of a gang, and a gang itself is a sort of business. Mm-hmm. A gang is the facilitator of violence. What you need to do is kill that industry, the organized crime industry, and you don't need to fix anything else. You don't need to do this, and the social programs that you have are not going to help kill that business. What's going to kill that business is you kill the areas that incubate that business, that startup. If you think of each gang as like a startup business, and you have incubators for startups in the legitimate world, mm-hmm. that help them grow. Each informal community functions as an incubator for these startup gangs. So we have an easier way of killing that industry, which is to take away their incubators. And that requires regularizing the land tenure. You don't have to go inside the incubator and do any kind of social programs and convince them to do things different ways. You don't have to do any behavior modification and stuff. That stuff is going to lead you nowhere. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You just have to dismantle the incubator.
So it's a holistic approach that is needed.
Well, I wouldn't use that term holistic approach. Okay. I would use the term a targeted approach.
Yes.
Targeted. What is the cause of the problem? Why are these communities functioning as incubators?
Yeah. And
we already know that answer. These communities are functioning as incubators because of their irregular land tenure situation. And that also leads to their haphazardly built layout, which also gives a tactical edge to gangs because they're hard to police. Mm-hmm. They're hard for state security forces to control, and they're easier for gangs to hide in. Mm-hmm. So a targeted approach is what is needed, not a holistic, not a comprehensive approach, not a multifaceted approach, a targeted approach, because that will allow each zozo to complete in a short amount of time and deal with the problem. That is the actual root cause of the problem, which is the informality of the community
and the land tenure. The statistics are showing a downward trend, I believe, in terms of crime and violence in Jamaica.
Well, they're showing a downward trend in crime. Mm-hmm. So we have to differentiate between the crime and the violence, and the statistics show why. Mm-hmm. It's because for the last
something is happening though. Point I'm making, something positive is seemingly happening. Isn't it a matter of time that we just need to continue doing what we are doing and to do it with more intentionally?
Well, let me finish making my point about that. You see, for the last 10 or 12 years, crime, category 1 crimes. Category 1 crimes are murders, shootings, rapes, robberies, burglaries, aggravated assault. Most of them have been trending downwards for 10 or 12 years, significantly downwards, except for murders and shootings. Okay. Those have remained constant.
Hearing you loud and clear, Mr. Coswell. I'm so sorry we are out of time. All right. But I want to thank you so much for joining us, and all the best as you continue to make this report public.
All right. Thanks. Thank you.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Anything possible with a little savings in your hand.
The time by Jan Bank is
7:30.
flame burns bright inside the chosen ones, like five-time gold medal champion Elaine Thompson-Hera. Built for speed, relentlessly pushing to go further, faster. Being the fastest woman alive over 100 meters, there's no telling how far or how fast she can go. The triple is on the horizon. Her achievements inspire us to be at our best, doing more for you to be your best. Flow, inspired by her possibilities.
When you say phosphorus, you say electrical. SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say phosphorus, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say phosphorus, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Phosphorus is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Maniville, and Montego Bay. Phosphorus.
To seize opportunities on your business horizon, you need tailored financing solutions from a partner that takes the time to understand your business. Sagicor Investments. We offer mid-sized to large corporations the debt and equity financing solutions they need to drive growth. Backed by the strength of Sagicor Group, one of the largest financial conglomerates in the region, you can be confident that we will deliver. Make your business move with Sagicor Investments. Contact our capital markets unit at 888-SAGICOR.
As we follow Grace Sardine, follow the better flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody sell it. Do all of them nice. Pass the part, make us shell it.
Pick up Grace Sardines with peppers, vegetable oil, water, and olive oil with peppers.
Cook it up, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Shake it out, spice it up, make it simmer. Grace Sardine, get the better flavor. Quick and easy as you print it. Ready?
Grace Sardines, follow the better flavor.
Remember, every dream where you have, remember everything where you plan. With J&M Bank, anything possible. With a little savings in your hand. Save say you plan, build the house, buy the land. You have goals and dreams like a plan. Save say you plan.
Living your best life and making memories is priceless. But saving little by little is what makes it affordable. Stop wishing you could. With your J&M Bank savings, you absolutely can. J&M Bank will help you find a way.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Observer, Rutherford rescues West Indies against New Zealand. Okay. Also, Bailey included in Reggae Boys squad for Copa America. All right. Then in the Gleaner, government condemns threats against TVJ journalist Giovanni Dennis. Also in the Gleaner, PNP distances itself from Damon Crawford's GCT increase proposal. And also St. James Top Cop, we celebrate seizing guns, not killing gangsters. And then finally, in Loop News, Labour Minister emphasizes Jamaica's dedication to social justice. Those are some of the major stories and headlines in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. Do you think the government should release the sex offender registry? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure. Reaching out for more, we'll always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, we'll help you achieve them. You're never alone. Take
taking care of today's needs. Take care of tomorrow's dreams. Every day helping you succeed. That's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams. Sagicor.
Affirm Ambulance Services, Jamaica's premier provider of emergency medical transportation. We do medical standby for both private and corporate events, non-medical emergency services, emergency transportation to and from medical facilities, hospitals, and homes, wheelchair provision, nursing homes, and first aid, plus so much more. We are located at 17 Cleardale Avenue, Kingston 10, and we can be contacted at telephone numbers 876-281-1262 or 876-299-2053. Follow us on Instagram at affirm_ambulance. Affirm Ambulance Services, a firm choice in health transportation.
We Are Kids Urgent Care Center provides even more convenient access to quality care. Our urgent care is open 7 days a week from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Monday to Saturday and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays and holidays. We Are Kids Urgent Care Center at 218 Mountain View Avenue provides immediate attention for illnesses, minor injuries, and other urgent health needs for children. For more information about our urgent after-hours care, visit wearekidsurgentcare.com. Check us out on Instagram at wearekidsja.
Bucket and minute, every rubbish in a pan. No dirty up the place, this a PB island. So keep Jamaica, say me good clean, keep Jamaica clean. Make you listen to me please. No plastic, magnolia blowing at the breeze. Proper garbage, disposal, recycle plastic. Now make it full up in the streets. Bucket and minute, every rubbish in a pan. No dirty up the place, this a PB island. So keep Jamaica, say me good clean. A message from the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Are you ready for another exciting show inside Alive from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. this correct Thursday, June 14? Well, join me, Sarah and the Trophy Ron for another time to recollect and reconnect. Stay tuned for the brain testing mental science at 1:45. Then Prayer Blast will be at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside Pieces of the Past. We'll share with you some traditional Jamaican superstitions, part 3. Then at 3 p.m., join us for music overloaded in a throwback style. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. this Throwback Thursday, June 13 on the family station, Love 101.
On Sunday, June 16, listen at 9 a.m. as we will share a recording of the Ecumenical Service celebration of Jamaica Council of Churches Week under the theme, Justice, Truth Be Ours Forever, reigniting God's intention for human flourishing at the Hope United Church, 221 Old Hope Road, Kingston, held on Sunday, June 2, with greetings from the Governor General of Jamaica, His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen. The speaker was the Most Reverend Dr. Howard Gregory. That's the Ecumenical Service celebration of Jamaica Council of Churches Week. Listen for the recording on Sunday, June 16 at 9 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Every human come subscribe to this.
Hey everybody, it's time for Small People with Auntie Vashti.
That's right, it's the Small People Show with me, Auntie Vashti, every Monday to Friday at 4:30 p.m. Listen up, children, this is our time, and every day we want you in on the great things we are doing inside the Small People Show. We come to have fun. We come to help you through those rough days. We're educational, inspirational, and the Small People Show with Auntie Vashti is taking over the nation. Every child must know that they are special because God created you special. That's the Small People Show with me, Auntie Vashti. Monday to Friday at 4:30 p.m. It's on the family station, Love 101.
With inspiration now. And every afternoon, smart people.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today. 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. Do you think the government should release the sex offender registry? Jokal.
All right, so we have a response from Cherry in Spanish Town. She says, good morning. I think the government should release the names of sex offenders, as this will help the offenders as well as the general public. When they know their names are publicized, it will stop some, maybe not all, to commit another sex offense. No matter what you do, some persons don't believe in changes. So that's her response.
Okay. And that's who? Cherry?
Cherry in Spanish Town.
All right. Interesting there, Cherry. We appreciate the response. Okay. As we segue now into the second watch, every now and again, the idea of releasing sex offenders registry pops up in the public sphere. The latest round of debate is thanks to the recent revelation by the JCF that the suspect arrested in connection with the abduction and murder of a school teacher allegedly had prior convictions for sexual offenses. So with emotions running high across the country, the calls have been getting louder about ways we can protect the vulnerable. In this, the second watch, we examine whether the registry's release would help or hurt us. And in so doing, we have online so far Mr. Leonard Green, President of the Advocates Association of Jamaica. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Reverend, and how are you? And good morning to your listeners.
Yes, I'm well. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Great. Thanks for joining us. We were hoped to be joined by the Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, having a lot of difficulty connecting.
Michael Jackson?
Yeah, we're not connecting with her at all. We're not sure what's going on with the technology this morning. But we're happy to have you on, sir. Now, before we delve into the meat of our discussion, can you tell us what really is a sex registry and how it functions in Jamaica today?
Oh, well, really, what it simply is a record of persons who are convicted under the Sexual Offences Act, under the Offences Against the Person, Offense Against the Persons Act, in relation to sexual offences. And there is a tendency among persons who are convicted that they tend to be repeat offenders. So the thinking is that it is one of the very difficult offenses to manage in terms of prosecution and dealing with them because they tend to repeat the offenses. Particularly
Mr. Green,
offenses like pedophilia.
Yeah, Mr. Green, my apologies. All right. We're up on a break already. So we'll be right back with your thoughts.
Praise sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper. That are the winner. Shop on supermarkets. Everybody
Great
sell it.
sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is 7:45 a.m.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second watch, we are discussing the release of the registry. Not yet done, but the calls are out there for this to be done, to be made public. And in so doing, we have online so far Mr. Leonard Green, President of the Advocates Association of Jamaica. And we also have, no, not as yet. Okay, we're still working on Miss Jackson. Welcome back, Mr. Green.
Yes, and the thinking, therefore, is that the public needs to be given some protection by maintaining a record of those people who have been convicted.
Mm-hmm.
There are some special cases where, for example, an application can be made that a convicted person may not be included on the registry, but in most cases where the sexual offense is concerned, they are placed on a registry. In Jamaica, we have a registry that holds some 300 people. I'm sure many of your listeners might not know that.
300, you said?
Yes,
Wow.
and that are registered sex offenders.
Mhm.
Because if you commit those offenses, the law prescribes that your name is to be included on that registry. So, what has happened internationally is that there is a view that this should be made public as a means of protection to those people. And in some countries, particularly in the USA, their addresses are published so that the persons living in a particular area will know that they are living, there's an individual living in their neighborhood who's a known sex offender.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, there is a view that to do so is an infringement of the rights of persons. It is highly invasive and is problematic for the individuals who may have committed, in some cases, relatively minor offenses.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Pause a little bit while there, Mr. Green. You said 300 persons are on the registry.
Yes.
And this began when? This process began what year? Do you know?
I would think it was about 12 years ago. I'm not able to give you the exact date, but
Isn't that figure small then? Is only 300 persons qualify for that?
Yes, but like I said, there are some circumstances where the court may order that that person's name is not to be included on the registry.
Okay.
So maybe the explanation for that is that mainly the most serious ones are included on the registry.
And sex offenses include rape. What else?
Carnal abuse, sexual touching, indecent assault, a wide flow of sexual offenses.
Okay.
Legislation.
Yes. No. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the question is, should we make this record public, and should the public have home access? Because presently under the legislation, it is not. And what happens is that only a restricted group of persons, i.e. the constabulary, persons who are responsible for children's homes, for example, have access to it when they are employing people. And the restriction is relatively limited. So what is being proposed is that there is to be a broad opening of that registry, so any Jamaican can access it to know who are the sex offenders among us.
Yes. What is your view on the call for it to be released? What's your view or the view of your organization?
Well, I must say it's a mixed view, because if for example, the person who is charged for having murdered that teacher is a known offender, sex offender, and who has had charges and convictions even overseas. So
allegedly,
it's a very unfortunate situation where that person was in fact involved in transporting the public.
Mm-hmm.
So in those circumstances, one could argue that no person who's a taxi operator, bus operator should be a sex offender, and one can agree with that. But at the same time, there are instances where sex offenders have suffered severe, should I say, disadvantage. Where, for example, there's a case in the United States where a young man at the age of 17 was charged, convicted for a minor sexual offense. He came on the registry, I think, at age 17 or 18. And some years later, he married a lady, and his name is still on the registry in relation to offense that he committed against his wife.
He married the lady that he had committed the offense against.
Yes, his girlfriend and himself had
his name still on the registry.
And a situation where she had accused him of a sexual offense.
Yes.
He was convicted, and they were friends, and later they got married, and his name remains on the sexual offense registry.
Mm.
So there are cases where you can have situations of injustice, but generally speaking, as long as we can adequately protect the integrity of persons who are not serious offenders, I think it would, generally speaking, would not be a bad idea.
Well, you have to say more on that, though, Mr. Green, because a lot of what you said a while ago had a tinge of subjectivity to it.
It does. It is. I'm saying subject to the nature of the offense, i.e., I would not be one who would be thinking that a sexual touching offense might warrant a single offense of sexual touching, for example. It's a relatively not so serious, wouldn't regard it as minor, but not so serious offense, would warrant the inclusion of that person on the registry. However, if somebody is charged for abduction and rape and goes to prison for 10, 15 years, I think that person should be included on the registry.
Interesting. I think we have online now Miss Michael Jackson. Welcome, Miss Jackson.
Morning, Miss Jackson.
Thank you so much. Good morning, and my sincere apologies again.
Okay, great. We're happy to have you on nonetheless. I don't know if you're able to hear any of what Mr. Green just said, or you perhaps in prior discussions know exactly what his stance is. What is your take on the matter of the call for the release of the registry?
You know, I've had the privilege of working with survivors of sexual violence for years. So I get...
Sound a little low, Miss Jackson. I don't know why. Could you speak
in?
A whole lot better. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying that I've had the privilege of working with survivors of sexual violence for years. So I do get the perspective of the calls being made. However, I think it would be an ill-advised move at this point because there are several factors that the public, I believe, would have to be understanding, and certainly the public officials. You heard Mr. Green spoke of some of them. For example, it's an offense-based registry. And I think the question that I would ask, though the judge has some discretion, for example, if it's a young offender, a child, if it is a first-time offense, the judge can say, I don't think this particular case warrants going on the registry. But generally speaking, once you commit an offense within the broad categories that you have, you would land on the registry and your name would remain there for 10-year period. You can vary the reporting requirements within that 10-year period, but it remains there. And then a judging chamber afterwards can say, you know what, I think based on your offense, let me keep you on the register for another 10, for another 10, for another 10, and it goes on. I think the public would have to understand what are some of the offenses, or do we just label everything bad? One of the scenarios I give, a 17-year-old in grade 10 or 11 has his grade 9 girlfriend. She's 15 years old. He has committed an offense of having sexual intercourse with a minor under the age of 16 years old. The question I would ask, would that child, first offense or not, should that child stand the risk of being on the registry? I don't think that should be left up to judicial discretion. I think it ought not to be there in the first place, because we have been advocating, for example, what we call a closing age exemption. So the point is that currently, as the Sexual Offences Act stand, it needs overhaul. It needs to be completely reviewed. But Parliament has been sitting on that report since 2018. That's one perspective to consider. Do we say, for example, that you land on the registry in the first place? Not talking public now, given the nature of your crime, your history of violence, the type of offense, and how heinous it is that you have committed. That's one perspective to consider. The other perspective to consider, who has access in the first place? You heard Mr. Green giving you some categories, but when you read the regulation, it says, for example, it's not just the employer who would have access to that tier 1 and tier 2 category. And the regulation spells them out quite nicely. For example, the ID, the location of the person, the name of the person, all of these type of detail. The employee can also ask, the prospective employee. So I give you a scenario. The domestic helper who is going to be working with someone, and you're a little bit uncertain given you're going to be in that household. Should I request that information? It gives another broad category that says the parent, the caregiver, or any other person associated with the sex offender. I don't know what that means. Do you? You have to be asking yourself the question then. Would I fit into some of these categories as they currently exist? Are the educational institutions using the registry as they should? Do I feel safe that my child is at a school with someone who has oversight? Is that particular school adhering to the requirements to say you should be getting the information from the registry? And if they are, is the registry answering those questions in a timely manner? I think there's so many things that we have to be looking at.
In light of what you just said, then, Ms. Jackson, what is your take on it in regards to the release? Yes or no? Should it remain as is with modifications made, or are you saying no to the release outright?
We're saying
not
an
yet,
absolute
she's saying
no
not yet.
to it being public, an absolute no to it being public, because those are just some of the factors I was just putting in our minds for us to consider. But to make it public, it's a no for us, because one, you have to look at how would that data be protected? Would it be updated in a timely manner? Are they going to be mixing up Michael Jackson with Michael Jackson and therefore come kill off Michael Jackson at some point because of vigilantism? That is the kind of thing we have to be thinking about now, Would it affect even the victim that is involved?
Yes.
When you look at a lot of these cases are involved in the family home, would it affect the victim where the victim's name would then become public as a result of the association with the offender? Much food for thought, I think, before we get to.
But it sounds, before bringing Mr. Green for 1 minute, it would sound, therefore, based on what you're saying, Ms. Jackson, that we shouldn't even have the registry in the first place.
No, not at
because
all.
all of these factors you mentioned, all of these buts and ifs are still there. But anyway, Mr. Green.
Yes, but we need to look at how effective it is and fix it.
Mr. Green, go ahead. Your response, quickly, 1 minute.
I'm saying I understand exactly what Michael Jackson is saying. That in order to, very often the Jamaicans say we need a law too, we must do this. But are the objective conditions for establishing a public registry in existence at this time? And the answer to that must be no.
Okay.
As we presently are, every single parish has a...
Sorry, Mr. Green.
Sorry?
I'm so sorry. Totally out of time, sir. Totally out of time. All right. I want to thank you both for joining us. Interesting discussion. Have a safe day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again next week as Mr. Stokely Marshall continues to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information, we get copies of this program. Call our production department at 876-968-959627. This, of course, has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Dane Brown, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, and you're back to Love in the Morning with Jokal Dial.
Thank you for listening to the